Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and today we have two fans requesting this film, and it is for the 1985 action comedy kung fu movie, The Last Dragon. Here is your trivia question for today. What is the slogan for Daddy Green's Pizza? The answer will be at the end of this video. Our story starts with us meeting our main character, Leroy Green, who also happens to go by the nickname Bruce Leroy. Now, Leroy has just recently finished his training and is now a master in the martial arts. Now, Leroy believes that he has not completed training yet, as he has not attained the glow. But his master is trying to explain to him that he has completed it. But to find more training, he's willing to give him a medallion, and the true master and owner of the medallion will be able to finalize his training. So Leroy Green heads off to find this master. Now, another martial arts master that happens to be in the neighborhood is someone named Show Nuff, who runs a gang and wants to fight Leroy to prove that he is the true master. But Leroy is unwilling to battle him. Now, there's also Laura Charles. She happens to run a disco named Seventh Heaven. There's also a television show where she gets to showcase what happens at the disco and music videos that help people become famous. Now, someone who wants to take advantage of the fame that Laura Charles can garner is Eddie Arcadian. He's definitely a member of the seedy underworld of the city, but he does have a girlfriend named Angela Veraco, who has hopes of becoming a pop star and wants to appear at Seventh Heaven. So Eddie tries to pressure Laura Charles into letting Angela appear at Seventh Heaven, but she refuses, and this infuriates Mr. Arcadian. Eddie makes multiple attempts on getting his revenge on Laura Charles, but randomly, Leroy Green keeps showing up to save the day. Eventually, though, Eddie is able to kidnap both Laura Charles and Leroy's brother Richie. Eddie also manages to set up a trap at Seventh Heaven to capture and kill Leroy Green. So, will Leroy defeat all of his adversaries and somehow attain the glow? The original story of The Last Dragon was written to be a stage musical. However, the writer's girlfriend talked him into making it into a script for a film. Now, even though the film was not actually a musical, there really is a great soundtrack for this movie. What's interesting is the song Rhythm of the Night by DeBarge makes its first appearance in this film. Now, this movie was actually Timok's first feature film, but he was actually a professional martial artist before the movie even started. There were actually some other actors that were trying very hard to get the role of Leroy Green, including Denzel Washington, Lawrence Fishburne, Wesley Snipes, and Mario Van Peebles. Vanity was apparently the only actress that was thought of for the role of Laura Charles. Vanity was also Prince's protege. Unfortunately, both of them have passed away by this point. Julius Carey did a great job as Shonuff. Unfortunately, he has also passed away since this film. He actually did not have any martial arts training before the film started. There were also quite a few actors trying to get the role of Shonuff, including Denzel Washington, Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, Ron O'Neal, Billy D. Williams, Carl Weathers, and Jim Kelly. Faith Prince actually does her own singing in the film as Angela Veraco. And if you didn't know, Veraco is supposed to be a parody of Cyndi Lauper. There's quite a few cameos of actors who became much bigger later in life. For instance, Keisha Knight Pulliam, who appears as Leroy's sister, Sophia, actually was Rudy Huxtable on The Cosby Show. She had actually completed the first season before this movie was created. Ernie Reyes Jr. appears in this film, and if you don't know who he is, trust me, if you go back and look at quite a few movies that appeared in the 80s and 90s, you would recognize him from a few different roles here and there. Ernie's father, Ernie Reyes Sr., also appears in this film, and they actually have a really fun fight sequence on the dance floor at Seventh Heaven. My favorite cameo in this film is there's a character named JJ who briefly appears and is played by William H. Macy. Leo O'Brien, who appears in this film as Richie, unfortunately did not do much after this film and has actually passed away since, is actually the younger brother of Guy O'Brien, better known as Master G, from the band the Sugar Hill Gang. By the way, the scene at the beginning of the film where there are some arrows that get caught and chopped in half was an actual stunt that took 2 hours to get right. In case you were wondering what's in the fish tank, it's actually just a metal pipe that is churning and pushing the water around. Unfortunately, actor Christopher Murray actually hit his head on the pipe, and that's why, if you notice, there's a cut above his eyebrow when he gets lifted out of the water. Did you happen to recognize the yellow jumpsuit that Leroy is wearing? It's modeled after the same one that Bruce Lee wore in Game of Death. And Uma Thurman wears a very similar outfit in Kill Bill. The Last Dragon is definitely a cult favorite. It still pops up in pop culture from time to time. For instance, Busta Rhymes did a song called Dangerous, and in the music video, he's dressed up as Show Nuff. Naomi, a wrestler who was once in the WWE, has admitted that her whole gimmick of Feel the Glow is based off of the glow from this movie. There's even a quote from the film in the animated series The Venture Brothers, as at one point Hank is beating up Dean and says to him, "Who's the master?" And this is a very well known line from Show Nuff. The Last Dragon is honestly a really fun, entertaining movie to watch. I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 5. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of the episode, what is the slogan for Daddy Green's Pizza? Just directa your pizza to Daddy Green's Pizza, which is stated by Leroy Green Sr. and also appears on the sign when they walk by it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. If there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments. And as always, like, comment, share, and subscribe.